I did it. Okay. Now, for you, the hospice volunteer, you guys are given much responsibility. I give you a name and an address and a few little tiny tidbits of information, and I send you on your way. And you bravely go out and you find your way, and you walk into a home that's under great pressure, maybe under great turmoil, and you suddenly find yourself on the front line. And I give you guys a lot of honor and respect for stepping into this role. Your talents and skills are very widely, and even the HR, I've got a woman right now, volunteer, she was here when you guys were coming in, and she's surveying my volunteer files. And I'm missing something here and there, and or something's out of date or something's out of place, and so we're using her wonderful HR skills and getting an important job done. And it's something that should have been done some time back, but that's really neat. And we're going to find out what all your talents and skills are and put them to work as well. Solving problems out there on the home front. Volunteers generally give 2 to 4 hours a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the referral rate and the patients that come in. Sometimes volunteers even sit for a little bit before I can get you guys reassigned and revved up again. There's just like this ebb and flow, and it's very unpredictable. Most volunteers are assigned to patients. It just seems to work out well to keep your workload steady. You might visit on alternating weeks, or you might visit, it just depends upon the needs of that household and that patient. But sometimes patients are out of commission for whatever reason, and you're taking a break from one, but you're still staying busy with the other one. And the two just really lends to a nice balance for your workload. Visits are recorded and filed in the patient's medical record. The volunteer comments on the visit slips become a part of that patient's medical record. And I could go back and get a paper chart right now and just show you where the volunteer visits are recorded for that patient. You guys are a part of the interdisciplinary team. So your activities are honored and respected, they're recorded, and they're preserved. And we're still on paper with those. We haven't quite figured out a way to get those digital.
Now, there are also medical visits in the process. I mean, a volunteer is going to see how they can assist, help, whatever. Is there a nurse going in to see these patients?
Yes. In this, you're very likely to cross paths with the nurse, or very likely to cross paths with the CNA. And generally, they come in. I try not to double up the nurse and the volunteer, because you're both there for a period of time. That's not a real good mix. But the CNAs come in and they do the bathing and they change the patient. They generally work pretty quickly and efficiently, and they leave, and then you continue your visit with that patient. So, but yeah, I haven't gone into detail on the team yet, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. You will be making a personal investment to each hospice family. Your heart will become tied to that family. You will think about them. You'll worry about them. You'll think of ways that you can help them. And then volunteers as an alternative family member. And you do not want to become a friend, okay? I don't even quite want to hear that word because there are boundaries here. There's a lot of emotional activity going on, and I don't want you guys to step in too deeply into these situations. You are going to be pulled in. You are going to become a part of the team. You're going to go in and support that family. You are going to learn a lot about them, but I don't want you to become overly involved or seek out friendship with that family. Okay? You're a part of the hospice team. You're a volunteer professional. And I want you to guard your heart in these situations. And we all know where we're headed, okay? We know what the end game is here. And we have to keep that in mind and expect the death that is imminent, and just maintain a little bit of distance in there. So. Okay, Dan, would you read this?
Volunteers render service with a caring heart. The traditional virtues of kindness, honesty, and simplicity on the part of the hospice volunteer will go far to help fulfill the dying patient's emotional needs.
Yes, I love this quote, because this really sums you guys up. Rendering service with a caring heart. And it is the traditional virtues. It's the kindness, the honesty, and simplicity. So it goes very far.
Do you have volunteers that try to get too involved?
Just once in a while.
You have to pull them back, or?
Yeah. Usually, we've got a high level of maturity here. You know that you've got a job to do. You know we expect the death. We know the patient is going to die. And generally the volunteers do a very good job. So I don't have a lot of trouble with this, but I like to address it up front with you guys. At one time we had nurses. We had nurses that stepped over and became very deeply involved with their families and spent an awful lot of time there, and their hearts got very, very involved. And so we've had to even talk to our nurses and work with our nurses about boundaries as well. So, yeah. Okay, volunteer induction. Volunteers wishing to volunteer must complete the following. 2 positive personal references. We're going to mail those out yet this evening. Initial physical exam, drug screen, and hepatitis B. Hepatitis B is optional, but if you want it, we'll get that going. Man-2 TB test to check for tuberculosis. A clear, limited criminal history check. We'll do the paperwork for that tonight too, so we can send that through. A copy of the current Indiana driver's license, current insurance coverage, and then fingerprinting. And we're not doing it at the state police post anymore. That's kind of been updated there. It's a lot easier now. Volunteer support. Hospice work can be intense. You've kind of got to guard your heart and guard against becoming over-attached to your patient. One thing that helps is just to remember that you're a part of the team, okay? We have a whole team of people that are going in there. And Brenda, you've seen this, haven't you? You've seen the nurses from visiting nurse going in. You've seen the CNAs. Have you seen the social workers and the chaplains? Maybe, maybe not. They don't go at the same frequency, but...
I've seen the social worker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're not alone. You're not the only one assigned to that patient or that family. You're a part of that team, and you've got a definite realm and a definite purpose there as a volunteer, and then they all have their purpose as well. So we'd like you guys to keep a balance of activities in your lives. You know, your vacations. I know that you can't be here. I know I'm coping with vacations all summer long with the volunteers. They need to be away. And you've got jobs, you've got families, you've got dogs, you've got hobbies, and we like to see the self-care. We like to know that you guys are out there living a good, full life, and that hospice volunteering is just a part of that. So, if you need counsel or support on anything, I'm the first line of defense. You can come and talk to me. I'm talking to volunteers all day long. You can come in person and sit down with me, or we can talk on the phone. Just whatever you need. And I also mentioned earlier, you can talk to the assigned nurse. We have occasional in-services in person where we gather as a group and on different topics. And we'd like you to come in and get continuing education. And there's a ton of stuff online now about hospice. And there's an HVA, Hospice Volunteer Association, I think it is. And it's all solid hospice volunteering. And they've got newsletters, and it's real easy to log into all that and read what other hospice volunteers are doing. So, we also, we have our 2 bereavement staff, and then also our chaplains are really excellent counselors. And if you guys wanted to sit and talk with them confidentially, privately, they have always been available to our volunteers if you ever had anything you wanted to just talk and get off your chest, or just get some counseling from them. That would be excellent. We took your pictures tonight. I'm going to turn those into badges. You guys have gotten sized up for your uniforms, and I'm going to order those. And you will wear those when you make visits to the homes or to your patient, wherever they are. It's very important that you wear your ID badge. I have mine on every day. And then sometimes you might pick up prescriptions, and Walgreens likes to look you guys over real close, and boy, the ID just, it's your passport in. And also they are asking for you to confirm the address of the patient. So that goes back to that face sheet, and you might keep it folded up and tucked down in your purse, but you'll have to read off that address and confirm.
Damn, now I gotta start carrying a purse.
Sorry, Dan.
Ah,
It's one of the requirements.
I know it. I hope it goes with my post.
Okay, checklist for new volunteers. After I get word of a referral, like I said, I go in, I learn a little bit more about the patient, I call the home, and usually I talk to the primary caregiver and get an even better idea. And I talk to them about the limitations of volunteers too, because there are some limitations. We'll get into that a little bit later. But, and I'm always thinking, okay, who would be good for this? Who would be good for this? And then I may call you, and I'll explain the situation and what the needs are. And then you kind of have to filter that and think about your schedule, the time that you've got available, what's going to be demanded. And then we just agree if that's going to work for you, you say yes. And if it's not going to, you just need to say no to me. Because it has to work for both sides. It's got to work for the patient, and it's got to work for the volunteer as well. So we just talk that stuff out. If this assignment doesn't work, it's okay. And I can call you, a day later and have a whole new patient, whole new situation, and that one might work just fine. So your yes is your yes, and your no is your no, and there's no problem with that at all. And then I send out a package. I fold up the face sheet and some of the visit slips. I've got some resources. I've got some nice magazines that I might put in depending on the interests of the patient. I've got some different things that I send out to you guys. And then when you receive that packet, I would like you to call the house within 24 hours and just to confirm the first time that you might visit. And after you've visited, the documentation needs to be sent in within 3 days. We have to have your visit in the medical chart within 72 hours. So that can be kind of a tight turnaround, but that's doable. The mail, the mail in the surrounding area actually arrives next day, for the most part. So. And we use those business reply envelopes, so postage is not a problem. You just need to put your visit slip in there and drop it into a mailbox.
Can you fax or email, or?
No.
No, has to be, okay.
Yeah.
We can cover the chapter.
Yeah. Patient status is very changeable. Some volunteers say, I just had a feeling. And if you get that feeling like, oh, I would get on the phone and call. or if it's been a long time since you visited, call and say, you know, I'm planning to come over tomorrow morning, is that still okay? Or I get hints on my end too, and I'll shoot you out an email and say, well, like just on Monday, a man got transferred. He was up in Huntertown, and a volunteer's real involved with a wife, helping her out. And because we have a case there where the woman is almost as ill as the man, but he's our patient. And so we're lending a lot of help up there. But he all of a sudden got transferred into hospice home, and I was like, whoa. I was surprised. So I had to right away alert the volunteer because she would have, you know, gone to the house. So it is very changeable. Although patients have a period of stability, they also have periods of great change. So
I have a question. When you first talk to them and accept them, what do you tell them about us as far as, do you say they'll be there once a month usually, or twice a month, or once a week? And what do you kind of say?
each situation is different.
Okay.
It depends on what their needs are. And sometimes I have to get 2 volunteers for the patient and do some alternating. Yeah, and but most cases they just have 1 volunteer, and it works out.
And this is where that heart can get in the way if you're trying to run there every day to
Well,
lend a hand or,
we generally don't go daily.
yeah. But I mean, that's what you have to guard against.
That's right. Once a week is like a standard. Okay, I would say once a week is kind of a standard for volunteer involvement. Okay. This guy that wants to go to Decatur to visit his son, we might go twice a month for that. Okay, I'll try to be a 4-hour stretch, and I just foresee that fitting a little better to a twice a month format there, and he would be delighted with that. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Plan for your next visit before leaving the patient's home. This is nice to kind of get everybody locked in, and you know, is next Tuesday going to be okay, same time, and that type of thing. And then just do your best to serve the needs of the family, but keeping it within the confines of, you know, what we're talking about, what you're learning, and what's reasonable, and what's within your capabilities too. So keep visits and phone calls to reasonable length. Write visit slips soon after leaving the patient's home, and we only use black ink. And I've got black ink pens. I can send a handful of them home with you if you need them. So, okay. Wear your hospice volunteer ID badge at all times. And we do have a generic business card, and you would just write your name in it, and it says hospice volunteer. So if you guys would like those, I can get those for you too. So, okay. I really prefer that you not leave your phone number with them. I know it's very tempting. This is just kind of it's another boundary thing. It's another protection thing that we do. But they really need to go through me. So you would just say, well, call Ann Blue. They already know me. I've talked to them once or twice or 3 times. But they really need to, you know, go back through me to rearrange things or to change or whatever the case may be. So that's something you guys need to do, is redirect them to me. So it's a little bit lunky, but it does work. So, you know, we've got, you know, the nurses are a good example. It's hard for them to protect their phone numbers, actually, because the nurses are in contact with them constantly. And then you've got people calling them all, you know, times of the day and night and whatever. And I mean, the nurses have to worry about that, but I'm just saying, I don't want you guys to get into that position where, you know, it might be an overload situation.
so how do you handle it in today's world? If you call on your cell to them, and
Well,
they record your number.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
not deliberately, but just, we all know how to
It
do it.
happens.
You can call on your call.
Is it
Yeah.
star?
I don't know.
It's star.
Each plan's a little different. I mean,
Yeah,
You just star something or other and.
Yeah, star and then 2 digits.
Private or something.
Mhm. You can protect it, but it's
Well, I'm
hard
just
to even
saying-
remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying if a person or a family would call you,
Mhm.
just from my own experience, you might help them out, but I think you probably to protect yourself, you gotta tell them to call
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. And it works. I mean, the system, we've been doing this for a long time, and it sounds a little goofy in this day and age, but it does work. So there's a certain amount of paperwork. We've kept it to a minimum, but if you need anything, you just have to request it from me. I use snail mail, I use email. I'm texting more and more volunteers all the time, and if you guys are in the area and you want to drop in, that works out great too. So we communicate in a number of ways. Keep time record of all your visitations, telephone calls, and meetings. Include your travel time. You have to travel to get there. I mean, you can't get to your patient unless you travel there. So I do want you to include your travel time. Let's see here. And then, we have this bereavement issue. We're on this journey, we're supporting the family, and then we get to the point where your patient dies. And this is just a very tender moment here. It's a really neat time for you guys to pay your respects, to say goodbye, to honor the death, to honor the people that go on living. There's just a whole lot mixed into that week when that patient dies. And I really ask that you guys give a little extra attention right then. And I'd like you to do 2 of your choice, 2 of the list there, that you would make a call and offer your condolences. More and more volunteers are visiting the funeral home. They're going into the visitation and, just giving a hug and paying respects. And, the family is shocked and thrilled to see their hospice volunteer there. Sending a card with a handwritten note, or just to drop in and make a home visit. So, okay. And then when we are in the home, we consider ourselves an invited guest. Let's see. Sometimes we are offered gifts, but we're not supposed to accept anything. We have people that are like trying to give us gas cards or, I don't know, trying to give you something because you're coming over, and it's like, no. And, your time is your gift, your care, your love, your attention, and we don't expect anything in return. So, okay. Now, these are the limits of care. It does get down to common sense and insurance restrictions. Limit how the hospice volunteer must function. And you guys are not doing any hands-on type care, okay? You're not CNAs, you're not nurses. Even if you are a nurse, you're not going as a nurse, okay? You're going as a member of our community, you've had training, you're going as a hospice volunteer. And we don't train you guys in CNA skills. So you're not like lifting anybody out of the recliner, you're not transferring them into their wheelchair, you're not holding them down in bed, you're not helping with the toileting, you're not changing clothes, you're not doing that stuff.
So if you're the only one there, the husband went to visit the son, and you're the only one there, and she needs to use the restroom.
Well, when I call and talk to these referrals, I ask all those questions, okay? And frankly, I don't send volunteers out. I have to back away from situations where the patient needs to be lifted up out of bed to go to the bathroom, okay? Technically, we can't serve them. And now with that being said, you know, there comes a point in their decline where they are truly bedbound. Well, volunteers can go in then. Okay, if they're 100% bedbound, you guys can go, just go, you know, I send you in there. But if they're in that middle stage where they're still wanting to get up out of bed and needing that help to do that, I cannot send you to that house. Okay, so there is a segment of our census that volunteers are not going out to. It's just the limitation. You're just not trained, okay? And so, but that's my job to kind of filter all that stuff out, and the job of the nurse too. So everybody's very aware of that. Yeah, and our CNAs, they have all the training in the world on how to do that, and the body mechanics, and the nurses too, but not the volunteers. So there's a big, you know, that's a big point right there. And, okay, no hands-on care or nursing skills. If things, sometimes we have a rare moment where those needs come up, we call, you guys would call in here, we would find a CNA that's in the vicinity or send somebody from here. And, because things do happen, okay? Not everything is predicted. And we send somebody out that can take care of that, and you just gotta hold on to your horses, you know? Okay. And when you guys write your visit notes, you should note any changes. Your eyes and your ears are very important out there. And it's very good if you guys can write into your notes any changes that you see. And you will see them. You know, we're watching every week. If you're going to visit a patient week after week after week, you are going to see that decline. You're going to see the changes, maybe an increase in pain. Or sometimes we see a patient buoy up and they get much better. We've made a medication change, or we've taken something away, or we've lessened this or altered that, and the patients suddenly get much better. And so that's really neat to see as well. So we do have a system. If the caregiver parcels out the pills that need to be taken at noon or whatever, they're already, you know, counted out and divided out. You guys can go ahead and take them to the patient and give them water, but they still have to administer it to themselves. But you can oversee that they get their meds at 12 o'clock or, you know, whatever the case may be. But you guys can't like pour them out of the bottle. You know, it's already got to be determined. So, okay. You guys can do light housekeeping. Now, I am not going to do any light housekeeping. I'm not even going to do heavy housekeeping, Dan. Is that understood?
You see me on the ladder on the second floor washing windows, and I'm thinking, oh my, no!
No, I've never sent a volunteer to do windows, but we're talking about, you know, dishes in the sink, or, you know, picking up the newspapers, or some dusting, or usually it's pretty obvious what needs to be done, but we don't get into heavy stuff, okay? Very often the volunteers prepare a meal if you're there over lunch or dinner. You know, it's just necessary. A lot of times our patients are eating very light. Well, we use a lot of the Boost and Ensure and soup and oatmeal and popsicle. So real simple stuff. Okay. Volunteers provide respite. This is probably the biggest role for volunteers. Respite is the time that you spend with a patient, and it allows that caregiver to go to Decatur. Okay? It's just as simple as that. And it's really kind of the key role of a volunteer. Our caregivers are awesome individuals, and you will really, you know, it's just the role that they play, and they're loyal and hardworking, they're exhausted, and it's neat when we can send in volunteers and give them a break. And it's good for the patient too, to have a fresh face and new thoughts and somebody new to talk to. So, okay, and running errands. Sometimes you can pick up something on your way in, or you know, just whatever the needs might be. Sometimes volunteers provide transportation to ambulatory patients. We don't do a whole lot of that. They have to be ambulatory, okay? You can't have somebody in a wheelchair. Again, you know, you'd have to do all of this. So that's kind of the standard in there, is you gotta put your hands on them. If you've got to, you know, then it's no way, no way. Okay. Okay, this is the hospice team that I was talking about. Volunteers give practical support and listening. The physician provides overall medical management. By law, he has to hear every case, every hospice case, every 14 days. Okay? Our cases need to be heard by a physician every 14 days. So what that means is on Wednesday morning, I'm sitting in this room with 1 million nurses and a physician, and we talk about half of our group one week, and then we talk about the other half of the group the other week, and then it alternates so that everybody, all those cases are heard by the physician. And then they discuss changes, med changes, mood changes, pain, comfort, family dynamics, the whole spiel. The social workers are in here, the chaplains are in here. This whole team is in here on Wednesday mornings, and we close the doors and we just go after the list. So it's very formalized, and the doctor may write 30 new prescriptions that morning, you know, changing things based on what the observations of the nurses are. So just so you know, we've definitely got a system here. RN, or actually the case manager, directs daily care of her assigned patients. Some patients, almost everybody gets 2 visits a week from the nurse. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's daily, depending on how acute the case is. So our nurses are right in there.
So that's what I was talking about.
Yes,
You've got people going in to see a patient.
yes,
We're coming along as volunteers to augment that visit or be part of it. I mean, not at the same time, but I mean, to go there to do our part.
right, exactly. You're a part of that team. Absolutely, yeah. The aides direct the personal care. And I'll be honest, sometimes our families say, oh, keep your social worker, you know, keep the nurse. You know, I don't need the nurse, just send that aide, you know. They get them into the shower, sit them on the shower chair, do all this beautiful bathing, shampoo their hair, rinse it, and get them into fresh clothing, change the bed. I mean, wouldn't we all love to have a CNA, you know? It's the personal cleanliness of our patients is just paramount. And they've got a tough job, and they do a beautiful job for us. And they take physical risk as well, you can imagine, with patients being all shapes and sizes these days. But yeah, it's really off. I love our aides, and they're out there doing a real good job for us too. And you'll see them. They move in and out quick. They move in and out quick. So, social workers are our problem solvers and resource providers. They know what's available in the community. They untie all kinds of knots with these families. And it's not the clinical stuff. You know, the nurse deals with that clinical stuff, but it's all the other stuff that the social workers take care of. Spiritual care gives counsel and guidance. They've always got a Bible. They'll read from the Bible if the patient wants it. They're good. They sing. They have hymnals. They sing to the patients and develop some real nice relationships that way. Bereavement counselor provides post-death support and supervises the bereavement volunteers. We have a group of volunteers that work in the bereavement department. I've given them away to the bereavement department, and they make follow-up phone calls to the primary caregiver after the death, and they do it periodically for 13 months. And that's something you might just want to think about. They make these calls from home, so it's very flexible. Sunday afternoon or whatever the volunteer decides when she wants to sit down and make those calls. But it's just a follow-up call, you get the caregiver answers, you say, how are you doing? How's it going? And just kind of open things up and let them talk. And it's a really neat way for the volunteers
But
to.
you don't ever go there?
No.
To ask that?
No.
So-
No, it's just telephone contact. And then we also have a lot of mailings. We have real neat newsletters that go out to people that are mourning the loss of a loved one. And we have support groups and different events and things too that are available. So. The end. Oh my goodness.